What's in my camera bag for 2026? I love this time of year because everyone posts their updated what's in my camera bag videos for the year. Truthfully, being a gearhead with chronic gas, these are some of my favorite videos to watch. So here's mine for 2026, and I can tell you there's been some big, little changes to my loadout. And the theme for this year is less is more and lighter is righter. Before we get started, let me point out that I have individual reviews for almost everything we're going to talk about, so I will add cards where I can and post links to the reviews in the description. Okay, let's start off with the actual bag. Last year, I finally purchased my dream camera bag, the Peter McKinnon 25-liter camera pack. What's ironic is I finally got the bag after years of longing for it, and within a few weeks, they released the bag in two colorways, green and tan. And both look great. If you've seen my other bag reviews, you know I don't like plain black bags. So ironically, if I'd waited just a couple of weeks more, I would have been able to get the bag in something other than black. The other ironic thing is, I actually don't use it much. I found that it's good for carrying a lot of gear and or heavy gear to and from your location. For example, here I am walking 2 miles in the rain to get pictures of my son at the Honolulu Marathon finish line. However, as you'll soon see, I'm shooting primarily with primes these days, so I only use it when I need to carry my zoom lenses. And having to open the back every time I want to change lenses isn't very convenient. I think the design is very secure for travel through airport terminals, train stations, and in high theft areas, but for me in Honolulu, I think a bag with side access suits my shooting style better. So what have I been using? I've been using this Tenba camera insert. This is the BYOB7. Stands for Bring Your Own Bag, and it's exactly the right size for my gear. When I went to Europe this summer, I took my Sony a7C II and two lenses, the Sony 28mm f2.0. And by the way, make sure to check out my real-world review of this lens from Rome, Italy. And then I also took my Viltrox 40mm f2.5, just really as a backup to my 2.8. I put a little bit of protection between the lenses and my camera body. And you can see that this bag fit it all perfectly. Then I put this insert into my Nomadic 24-liter travel pack, which was my everyday backpack during that trip. For everyday carry, it holds my Fuji Xe5 and the Viltrox 15mm f1.7. And it also holds my Fujifilm EF-X8 flash. It fits perfectly in the side pocket here. And you can see that with this setup I have room to spare. And so then I just put this insert into whatever backpack or sling I'm using for the day, and I'm good to go. And speaking of the Xe5, this camera now does double duty as my everyday carry and my travel camera. This Fujifilm Xe5 has been in my backpack every day since purchasing it. I shoot primarily with the Viltrox 15mm f1.7 prime. That's a 22.5mm full frame equivalent focal length, which is quite close to 24mm, my favorite everyday walking around focal length. Also, the 40 megapixel sensor allows me to crop in 1.4 times for a tighter field of view when I want, and I still have 26 megapixels to play with. Finally, if I need a little more versatility, I attach the XF 18 to 55mm f2.8 to 4.0, although it does make the camera a bit nose heavy. Don't get me wrong, I still think the original ZV-1 is an amazing one-handed quick draw camera that's compact, lightweight, and takes amazing pictures. However, to get the best out of the 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor, I found that you need to shoot in RAW. And honestly, I'm moving away from editing RAW pics except for those very important shoots. Now I can't show you direct comparison with the ZV-1 because I'm using it to film with, but the XE5 is considerably larger, it's also heavier, and it doesn't have the zoom since I'm again primarily shooting with a prime lens. Now the one advantage though that this camera does have is the eyepiece. So it does have an electronic viewfinder, which the ZV-1 does not have. I will say though, the big advantage in using this as my travel camera versus the ZV-1 is the 40 megapixel image stabilized sensor. And of course, being able to program in any Fuji recipes, as well as using the film simulations. In the full frame department, I sold my R8 and moved entirely away from Canon bodies. I'm shooting exclusively with my Sony a7C II, and I've also largely moved away from zooms, except when shooting sports. My lens of choice is a Tamron 24mm f2.8. With this lens, I feel like I'm getting 3 lenses for the price of one. I have the 24mm wide angle, and when I need a little more reach or feel like framing my shot differently, I use the 1.5 time crop factor on my Sony a7C II to zoom in to 36mm. Although the resolution drops to 15 or so megapixels, the pictures are still quite good, with vibrant colors and acceptable detail. Finally, my favorite feature is the macro capability. I love shooting macro flower shots with this lens. When I'm shooting sports, I rely on my Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8. And my Canon. This is a 70 to 200 f4.0. This is the OG, no image stabilization. And I adapted to my Sony a7C II using the Sigma MC11 adapter here. This Canon lens is still one of my all-time favorite lenses. So although I don't shoot with Canon bodies anymore, I can't bring myself to get rid of this lens. In fact, you may notice that there's 2 UV filters on here. That first one, I dropped it and I guess it bent the ring and I can't take it off, but luckily I was able to put another one in, and I actually dropped it at the Blue Angels this year and not a scratch, and it worked perfectly. So this thing is an old warhorse for me. For point of view videos, I've stopped using my trusty GoPro Hero 11 Black and moved to using my first generation Ray-Ban Meta Wayfarers. As I've stated in my initial review of these glasses, I originally received them as a Christmas gift with the polarized gray sunglass lenses inserted. However, I liked them so much, I replaced the sunglass lenses with, get ready for this, extra active transition progressive lenses in my prescription. The convenient thing is that you don't have to worry about mounts. Also, since these are my prescription glasses, I always have them when I'm out and about. The downsides are that they only shoot in vertical video in 1080p, and the max recording length with the current firmware I have is 3 minutes. Also, there's no zoom, and you really don't see exactly what you're shooting. This isn't a problem for things in the distance, but there is some potential for some serious parallax errors when shooting things up close. A potential upside is, I think Instagram pushes your meta content out to more people because I get more than my usual number of views when I post a video shot with my metas. So in summary, I've gone from using a 25-liter backpack to using this little camera insert. And then for my everyday carry, I've gone from using a full frame mirrorless body to using the Fujifilm X-E5, which is an APS-C camera, and then dropping the zoom and just going with a 15mm prime lens. And as we discussed earlier, the X-E5 now serves as my travel camera as well. And for those occasions when I do feel like shooting full frame, I no longer shoot with a zoom lens. Rather, I rely on my 24mm f2.8 Tamron lens. For point of view video shooting, my workflow has been very simplified. So I no longer rely on the GoPro Hero 11 Black and some type of mount to get point of view video. Instead, I'm just using these Ray-Ban Metas. Well, there you have it. That's my new minimalist, simplified camera bag for 2026. What do you think about it? My knees and back have never been happier. How about you? What changes have you made in your kit for 2026? Please let us know in the comments. And if you made it this far into the video, a big mahalo for sticking around. I appreciate it. Aloha.